Sometimes there are those games that you just don't find that often in your local game shops that you found footage of and get interested because it looks cool, it's based off a show that you love, and find out it's a big disappointment. Inuyasha Feudal Combat is one of those games. It's based off pretty much the last anime I watched on a regular basis, so when I got a chance to play it, I figured why not? It looks cool and it looked like fun. Unfortunately, it was as bad of a fighting game as I played in a while. The development isn't all that interesting. It was developed by 18, as in the number 8 then ING, published by Bandai and released on August 31st, 2005. We all know who Bandai is by now. They're a long-running company that publishes games, toys, and more recently they merged with Namco to create Namco Bandai. 18, on the other hand, let's just say is one of those companies that helped give anime the reputation it had during the PS2 era of being a dumping ground for people to make mediocre games. In their track history, they've developed Zatch Bell Mamoto Battles, Naruto Clash of Ninja 1, 2, Clash of Ninja 4, both Clash of Ninja Revolution games, and that's pretty much all the Naruto games they developed, Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, among other shovelware games based on anime. On the other hand, they also worked on a few decent games like the Bloody Roar games released on PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. So my hopes are kind of in between because I love the show, but I can't trust the development team. So enough babbling, let's get to the plot of the game. The plot takes place right before the core story arc of the series. Well, before the show got cancelled and we had to look up the ending ourselves. The story arc was in the three-quarters manga storyline and featured this cool faction of bad guys known as the Band of Seven. If you haven't seen the anime or read the manga, then go check out the anime for yourself to understand these characters' backstory up to this point. This leads into one of my main problems with the game, which is that the storyline is so brief that you'll know no more or less about any of the characters than you did before playing the game. I will admit, the graphics are pretty good. The game was released in 2005 and it looks like a good 3D representation of the anime. The 3D models look cool, the animations are well done, and all the special moves look very over the top and appropriate to the show. The story mode also takes full advantage of the in-game graphics to tell the story. Yes, it's told fairly poorly. The thing is that if you know all the characters, it's probably where the game shines best in that it really feels like an episode of the anime. The arenas, for how few they are also well done. They are somewhat big and have a ton of little details here and there. It definitely feels like the designers put a lot of effort into the arenas, and to add in destructible elements is also a nice little touch. The audio is serviceable. All the original voice actors are in the game and they put out very well done performance despite how bad the storyline is. The rest of the audio does its job fairly well, but it really doesn't give you anything to really grab on and remember. The gameplay is absolutely broken. Seriously, for everything it does right from a presentation standpoint, it screws up on the fighting game engine. The game is more or less a Power Stone style fighting game with freedom to move anywhere you like in the arenas. The game features 14 playable characters that appear in the show. Most of them have a character that they work best with, making this more of a tag team kind of fighting game. The game also features all the standard modes other fighting games offer, like versus, training, survival, and so forth. Where it starts to get bad is the core mechanics. Every character has between 2 and 7 combos along with mid-air combos. Now I understand there are games like Power Stone and Super Smash Bros. Where in those games combos are extremely simple and easy to pull off. What this game does wrong is that it doesn't offer cancels or a way to punish cheap players. Every move can be blocked including super moves. This is the least of your worries when you discover 4 big-time issues. The first is that the fights go on way too long. You get 3 bars of health like in Killer Instinct or the Dragon Ball Z Budokai games. The problem is that it takes seemingly forever to finish a match. This is due to the fact that if you ever get ahead in a match, you can block everything until time runs out. Sure, super moves and knocking people into obstacles do more damage, but only around 1/10 of the amount of damage more than getting a combo off. The second big issue is that the camera is horrible. The camera is set up for a 2D game in a full 3D arena. Normally, it's not a big deal. Power Stone did this and it worked fairly well. Where it falls apart is when your opponent is in front of you or the action gets hectic. You can barely see what's going on and it becomes a serious problem. It gets worse when you realize that the further back you are, the more stuff overlaps. Just for example of how bad it gets, later fights have poison mist and you can barely see anything at all and the camera does nothing to help. The third big issue involves the tag team aspect in the single player. There's a cool tag team mechanic where you have a partner who will assist you in combat. You can pull off assisted super moves and level up your teamwork skills during fight. The problem is that the artificial intelligence on your teammate is useless. They have no interest in attacking unless you are pushing the aggression on them. I've seen my partner at times just sit there in the middle of the map waiting to get hit. The last thing that kills the gameplay in this is that there's no balance to the characters at all. Every character that was a crucial part of the show are the only ones worth playing as. Everybody else is useless and have combos that will get you killed more likely than not. This turns what would be a fun party-style fighting game into a chore just to play at all. And they couldn't even be bothered to put any form of a 4-player competitive or tag battle mode in the game. Overall, Inuyasha Feudal Combat is a terrible fighting game. Fundamentally functions, but nothing in the game feels tested. Presentation and nostalgia for the show can only do so much until you realize the game is garbage. I can't recommend this game unless you're a hardcore fan of Inuyasha. There are better options out there, and the fans deserved better. I give Inuyasha Feudal Combat a 3 out of 10. This is one of the worst fighting games I've ever played on the PlayStation 2.